Welcome to the channel if it's your first time here, and welcome back if it's not. Now in today's video we're going to be looking at this. And this is my Sega Mega Drive. I think this has been on the channel a few times and I've done a couple of videos about it. I think the most recent one was where I did the region mod on it so it can play games from any region. And yeah, it's a perfectly working Mega Drive and I'm really happy with it. So why is it here on a Fix It Friday, I can hear you asking? Well, I've got an idea, and this idea comes from, I guess, my childhood, because when I was little and I had a games console, if I wanted to play it out of the house, I just used to have to pack it up in a carry case and lug it to, like, on holiday or to my grandparents and plug it into the TV, and I could play it sort of out of the house. I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I could just play a Mega Drive anywhere? So yeah, that's what we're going to do in today's video. I'm going to do a couple of mods on this and show you a couple of products, and hopefully in the end we'll be able to play this Mega Drive out and about. Now it is obviously quite easy to play retro consoles on the move these days because we've got modern handhelds that have emulation on and you can play them to your heart's content, which is fine. There's just something nice about holding a proper controller in your hands and just playing. I thought, I want to play on some original hardware, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this original hardware, modify it just slightly, and then we'll be able to take it wherever we want. I don't think I'm going to be sitting in the garden because it's turning into winter in the UK here at the moment, and it's not very nice outside. But when summer comes around, I will have my very own portable Mega Drive that I can play wherever I like, in theory. Now the first problem with making this a bit more portable is power, because at the moment it takes power into there and it requires a 10-volt mains adapter. But wouldn't it be great if there was a mod that could convert this into something a little bit more, well, 2025? Thankfully, there is. And that comes in the form of the Mega Drive Clean Power, which I picked up from RetroSix. And this kit essentially removes the AC adapter connector at the back here and replaces it with a nice modern USB-C connector. And it can run through any 5-volt USB-C power supply. Well, you might now be thinking, well, that's the power sorted, but how are you going to see the games you're playing? Because there's no screen on this. And my answer is, there's no screen on this yet. I've got this really cool kit that I picked up from AliExpress. I'm going to show it to you in a little bit once we've got the power mod done. But yeah, it should turn this into a portable console, which I'm really excited about. So yes, first things first, we need to make it so our Mega Drive can be powered through the USB-C connector and my battery bank. And to fit this mod, we need to crack open our Mega Drive. So let's get out the grey mat and do that. There we go. So to get into a Sega Mega Drive, one like this, we need to flip it over and undo these 6 Phillips head screws. So that's the 6 screws removed, and we should just start to gently pull the top off. Steady. Actually, you do need to be steady, because when you pull the top off, mine is slightly different because I've done the mod on it. The connector for the LED on the front will be connected. Now obviously it is connected on here at the moment, but yeah, the connector on the original, the LED just is there with its kind of bare legs poking out, and the connector just goes down onto it and the legs are bent back. But thankfully the mod that we did from Consoles Unleashed has this handy connector here where we can just unplug it. So the next job is to remove this top shielding here, and we have to remove these 8 screws. So while I'm taking the cover off, let's shout out my channel members. Channel members have gone one step above subscribing to the channel, which is free by the way, and they offer a small monthly donation to help support it. If you want to become a channel member either on Patreon, Facebook or YouTube, you can either scan the QR code in the corner of the screen or click the link in the video description. So anyway, at time visiting, my channel members are the Kip fans, and then the Kip early birds, who are Tim Salt, Sorcerer Stan, Mark C, Rob Lynn, Joseph Neal and Paul Monaghan. Then I love love these people so much. They are the kit lovers, and they are Bella Webster, Stez Stixpix, Lawrence, Scott Kendall, Prof RetroFix, DD Media Production, Lee Benz, Alan David Hughes, James and Danny, and Alex Bennett. And then we've got the nuttiest people in all the land. They are the kit nutters, and they are Becky Boobar, Alan Green, and Danielle Adele. And then boom, right at the top there, we have got our kit mental, and that is RJ Prate. He is mental for my content and is a top tier supporter. Thank you, RJ, for your continued top tier support, and big love to all my other channel members, no matter what level you're at. So we need to get the board out fully to do our mod. So to do that, we need to remove these 5 screws. So if we pop out the DC jack as well, this board should be clear to come out. Right, let's just have a little look what we've got included in the kit before we continue. Cool. Okay, well, there's not much to it. We've got this little bracket thing here, which our board will eventually go into and allow us to have that USB-C socket on the back. We've got 2 pieces of wire and 2 screws. So before we can wire in our clean power, we do need to make some modifications to the board. Now, they're actually pretty simple modifications, and you should just need a soldering iron to do them. But what I'll do is I will use my microscope so you can see them a little bit clearer, and it's a little bit easier for me to explain. But this is one of those jobs where you definitely don't normally need a microscope. It just makes things look a little bit better on YouTube. So let's switch over to the microscope and I can explain what's happening. Right, well, we're looking at the underside now of the Mega Drive board, and this is the point on the board where we've got 2 voltage regulators. And normally the voltage regulators would be knocking down the 10 volts that comes in into 5 volts. But because we're sending 5 volts into this anyway, these don't need to be worrying about that. We're just going to be bridging the 2 sets of outside connections. So these ones and these ones. And that's what the little wires that came in the kit are for. It's just to bridge those 2 points together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put a little bit of fresh solder on here. Now, if you're wondering why I'm doing that, it's because this is old solder and fresh solder just flows a little bit better, and it will be easier to get the wires on, hopefully. Let's just put some solder on here. So yeah, we just got to get one of our fresh new wires that we got in the kit. And solder it onto there like that. I'm just going to use some tweezers to get the other end in place-ish. That'll do. Do you know what? I'm going to make my life a little bit easier and just put some tinning on this. So tinning is putting some solder onto these bits of wire. And solder just sort of likes to stick to other solder really. So by tinning the wires, it means that it should stick a bit better to the solder. Okay, so that's one side of the bridge done. And that's the other side of the bridge done. So our next job is to look at where D1 and D3 are. Now we actually need to look at the back of the board, and these are the connections where D1 and D3 are. Now these diodes are actually used for reverse voltage protection on the console. So if you had a 10 volt power supply that had the DC the wrong way round compared to what the Mega Drive was expecting, this would protect it. We don't need to worry about the reverse polarity protection because it's not an issue with the USB-C power supply, but these will drop the voltage slightly, so it will turn our 5 volts that the console needs into 4 volts, which we don't want because we want to supply it with the 5 volts it needs. So we need to just bridge these out. So I'm just going to get some fresh solder onto where I'm going to bridge the connections. Nice. Now you can use a wire to bridge the connections, or you could do like a line of solder. But because it's only like a little small joint, I'm going to use a bit of a component leg. Yeah, so I'm just going to use that bit of, I think it's from a diode, and just link the two together. Yeah, straightforward. Now the next part of the mod requires you to remove this red and white wire from the original DC barrel jack, and you solder the wires onto our new connector. I'm going to do mine a little bit differently, and I'm just going to remove the connector from the motherboard and put in my own new wires, largely to make this mod a little bit more reversible should I wish to in the future. I don't think I will, but yeah. So I've just got to remember white wire goes to number 2 and red wire goes to number 1. So I'm just going to heat up these connections. But yeah, I just thought rather than cutting the original wires or anything like that, we'll just put some fresh wires in there. Right, I'm just going to suck the solder out of these connections. Let's solder our new red wire in. And then let's solder our new white wire in. So I'm just going to tin the other end of our wires so they're ready to go on our USB-C board. So now we've just got to wire our red and white wire to the actual clean power board, and the white wire goes to the ground and the red wire goes to the VCC. So a bit like that. And yeah, I'm just going to solder them into position. I'm just going to trim off that red wire a little bit because that was a bit long. I'll just add a tiny bit more solder onto it. Excellent. Well, we've done all the stuff under the microscope now. Let's switch back to the overhead camera and we can get this installed into our case. Now, before we get our board back into the case, we need to put our clean power PCB onto its little holder. So here's the holder, and we get the board so you can see the writing side up. It just sort of sits into there like that. And then we take the 2 screws that came with it and then screw it down. There we go, all done. So we've got our nice USB-C connector here. It's fixed onto here, and yeah, once it's in the case, it will be held properly. So to get it into the case, we have to sort of turn it upside down and push it into position. There we go. And look, it's secured nice and tightly there. It goes over the post. And look, we've just got a nice clean power, I guess. Right, so I need to get the Mega Drive back together. There's not really any difference to how I took it apart, so let's use the power of YouTube and get this reassembled. There we go, all back together, and looks pretty cool really. It just looks like it's meant to have a USB-C connection on the back of it for the power. But does it work? I'm not actually going to do like a full test. So hopefully now if I turn the power on, we should get a light down here and it should tell us that it's drawing some current on the screen there. So fingers crossed, hope it doesn't go bang. 1, 2, 3. Yes, we have light. And yeah, we have got 3.7 watts of power draw. So we've done the first part of this project by making the Mega Drive being powered by a USB battery bank, but we need to be able to see our games. So I'm going to do that in the next section of the video, which I'm going to film tomorrow. But before I start filming that, maybe you could give this video a like, maybe hit the hype button as well if you're on your mobile and it's available in your region. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to this channel. I really want to get to 30,000 subscribers. I'm very, very close to it. But obviously once I hit 30,000, I want to get to 100,000 and beyond. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed and like this video if you haven't already. So yeah, I'll see you in a second to carry on with the rest of this build. Well, it's the next day. I've had a haircut. That's why I look a bit more different than I did yesterday. And we need to look at this next part of this build, and that's this. And now this weird looking contraption is something that I've picked up from AliExpress. And essentially it's an external screen for a Mega Drive. It's got an 8-inch screen and it's in a 4:3 aspect ratio. So the game should look as they were intended to. And yeah, it's got this like framework thing that goes onto the bottom of the Mega Drive and just turns it into, well, now we've done the power supply update, it'll turn it into a portable console. This came from AliExpress and it cost me around about £80. So let's have a look what's inside the box. I think there is some assembly required. Oh yeah, okay, so we've got instructions. Okay, so we've got this top guy here, which feels like our screen portion. That's so cool. So yeah, we've got the screen and it's got the connector there to go into our Mega Drive. We seem to have some buttons here, maybe for adjusting volume and maybe the picture. And then right there, we've got a USB-C power input. Oh, okay, right, I see. Oh, so this is all 3D printed. That's cool. Does that line up with the Mega Drive screw holes? That's slightly annoying. Yeah, all the feet line up, but my screw hole there is slightly out. Interesting. All the other feet going fine. Right, okay, well, we're going to have to get a little bit sort of creative and snip this off. Obviously, there's a slight difference in the shells, which I've not seen before. That's better. Excellent. So that's quite interesting because it actually has like this PD unit thing at the back. So if you got a USB power supply that went in there, it'd actually be a fully portable unit. And I think you can actually screw it in there as well. Okay, so we've overcome a small issue. Let's just see what other bits and bobs we get. So we get a cleaning cloth, we get a power cable, we get some nuts and bolts, and yeah, we get a screwdriver. So that is everything that's supplied. Does look relatively straightforward to assemble. So I guess it goes in there like that. Nice. And then we use the smaller screws. Nice. And then we have to put the nuts in the sort of, what are they, bolts? I can never remember. To put our nut and or bolt into the inner holes here. And then we've got to put the screen on top and sort of sandwich them in. Oh, that's very sticky. That's what she said. It does have stereo speakers on the back, but the Mega Drive famously only has mono sound through the rear output, which is a bit annoying. Right, so neither of the leftover screws are actually of thickness to screw the Mega Drive onto this base. So we'd probably need some other kind of connector for that. I actually really like this. Oh man. Yeah, I'll switch the camera so you can see what it looks like. But that's really cool. I don't know why, it's so silly. So to wire our screen into the Mega Drive, we just got to plug in the supplied cable. Excellent. And yeah, we'll use the supplied cable as well for the monitor itself. Now it does say that you need to turn the monitor on before you power up the console. I don't know why that is. I need to find out what kind of screw goes into the bottom of the Mega Drive. Actually, something I forgot to mention when I was filming yesterday was putting power into this. Now the USB-C standard can actually supply voltages a lot higher than 5 volts. But the way that works is the device has to have like a special chip in it to basically say, hello, I like 12 volts, or hello, I like 9 volts. Please supply me with that voltage. Now the RetroSix Clean Power board doesn't have any such circuitry on. And if there's no chip that does the sort of handshaking, it will just supply the 5 volts that it was going to anyway. So it doesn't really matter what kind of charger you use to power the the RetroSix Clean Power mod, because it will just take the 5 volts and be happy with it, and it won't demand any more. I assume this monitor's similar, maybe, but it does have a USB-A connection on it, so that's fine. That's fine. So in theory now, if I put some power into the screen, it should turn on. Oh, so the screen's drawing. Aha, there we go. Interesting. Do our buttons do anything? Oh, okay. Right, so this button on the end here is power. I think we're gonna have to make some kind of labels. Okay, and then the next one along brings up the menu. So this one's the menu. And then the next one along brings up the volume, and I guess these two here alter them. Yeah, right, okay. Oh no. Yeah, the button on the end here makes it seem to restart. Okay, that's weird. I don't really fully understand. And also, I don't know whether this accepts PAL or NTSC or both. I mean, thankfully, my console is modified to do both PAL and NTSC. Let's try a bit of Sonic 2. This is a PAL version of the game, so I guess we'll find out our answer soon enough. Right, so let's plug in our Mega Drive power from the USB-C. Give it a go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay, so it doesn't mind PAL, because this is a PAL game and the console is in PAL game mode. Yeah, the menu's actually got all the sort of controls you'd expect. So we've got the brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, color, temperature. You can move things around and you can make the display a bit more transparent. I wonder what the mode is. Oh no! Oh no, the mode makes the screen go back to front. Right, System 3 was the one we want. There we go. Okay, well, we'll try an NTSC game. So I've got my Mega Drive Ever Genesis cartridge. Got this from AliExpress. It was probably like 20 quid-ish. We pop that in. Turn it on. I can't remember how to put the console in NTSC mode. Is it something to do with the reset button? Ah, yes. So I think orange is automatic. The display came on the screen for a second there and then went off. Oh. Maybe we need this magic button on the back. Does that tell it to change? Oh. Right, we need to tell it in the menu, I think explicitly, that it's having an NTSC signal. So if I get the menu up, if we go down to this toolbox one here, and keep scrolling down, get to there, and I think, there we go, we just tell it directly, NTSC, hopefully, it should just work. There we go. Oh! What's it doing to me, guys? It's playing a game, but I can't see the game. Interesting. Oh, is that Streets of Rage? I can't remember. Wait. Okay, so we've learned a lesson. We've learned that this screen doesn't seem to like NTSC signals. And I can't fully understand why that is. If you've got any ideas, do let me know in the comments. If this monitor could do NTSC, it would be perfect. Honestly. Be interesting to see the power draw actually. So they're both drawing about 3.8 watts ish, which is all right really. And it's saying that this battery will last about 6 hours powering this. Well, as you just saw there, I've been having a little play with it and it's actually really quite good. I think it's a bit of a silly idea, but I kind of like it. I think I am a bit sad that it doesn't play NTSC games. That is a bit of a disappointment. It could be a skill issue on my part. I might be missing a setting or something on the screen. I honestly don't know, because it does seem that there is an NTSC setting on there, but the Mega Drive doesn't seem to be making it happy, which is a shame. But regardless of having the silliness of the screen on here and making it sort of portable, so I've actually really enjoyed making this video. I think the RetroSix Clean Power mod is really, really smart. I like that a lot. And it just means that, like, especially when I'm doing videos and stuff like this, I don't have to go through my box of power supplies and dig out the huge Mega Drive one. I could just plug it straight into any USB-C outlet. Now, talking about plugging into any USB-C outlet, I did try the monitor with a USB-C to USB-C cable rather than the one that was supplied with it, and it didn't like it at all. It kept on like turning itself on and off really quickly. So I think maybe a battery pack like that with power delivery, it's not so sure about it. So it seemed to prefer the USB-A to USB-C wire that came with it rather than another one, but that's fine. And yeah, I've made a slightly silly but kind of cool portable Mega Drive-ish. Yeah, it would be amazing to get a little battery pack that fits in behind there, but obviously the smaller the battery you get, the less time it would work for. But you know, I don't necessarily think I'll be taking this on any car journey soon. In some ways, it's kind of handy having this monitor because it's actually quite a nice little test monitor for a Mega Drive to have at the bench, even without the sort of portability of it. It's kind of just good. So if you wanted to fix a load of Mega Drives and you just wanted something you could quickly bang in, it actually does the job pretty well. I don't know if it's worth the £80 I paid for it, but you know, it's really made me smile, and I hope it's made some of you smile as well. If it has, let me know in the comments. So yeah, that is the end of today's video. Don't think I've got anything else to say. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, but for now, it's game over.